Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. Today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the new horror film, In a Violent Nature.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Written and directed by Chris Nash, In a Violent Nature stars Andrea Pavlovic, Charlotte Creaghan, and Barrett. When a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower in the woods that entombs the rotting corpse of Johnny, a vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime, his body is resurrected and becomes hellbent on retrieving it. The undead golem hones in on a group of vacationing teens responsible for the theft and proceeds to methodically slaughter them one by one in his mission to get it back along with anyone in his way. In a Violent Nature was one of those movies that caught my attention at Sundance earlier this year. I didn't get a chance to obviously watch it back then, but it was one of those movies I saw a teaser for it, and ever since then it's been building quite a buzz for itself online, so it's been one of my most anticipated horror films of the year. And this is probably going to be the closest thing that we're going to get as horror fans to a new Friday the 13th film, since Jason Voorhees is currently all tied up in all kinds of legal bullshit. So I was excited to see something along the veins of those where it's been so long since we've got, a Friday the 13th film. And I think a lot of the buzz that this movie has created for itself is because of the way it's shot. So most of the film is shot from the point of view of the killer. And while this isn't the first time that that's ever been done before in horror, it's not something that we get every single day. So I think a lot of people were really interested in seeing how they were going to portray that concept in the film. In a Violent Nature is a throwback to the slashers of the 70s and the 80s. It feels like a horror film that you would have stumbled upon in a video rental store back in the day. You got the urban legend about an undead killer. Then you got the hikers / campers who disturb his rest because they taste something that belonged to him. From there, then you have a bloodbath as the killer hunts down these people one by one. And you even have a cameo from another iconic slasher franchise. And so, like I said, these people, they show up, they take the locket, and that kind of kicks off the film and Johnny's rampage. Overall, as far as the kills go in this movie, they are pretty brutal, and there's two specifically that stick out for me off the top of my head. One of them involves a wood-cutting machine of sorts. That's definitely one that sticks out. And then the other one has been creating quite a buzz for itself online and is going to be the one that I think a lot of people are talking about once they get a chance to see this movie. And that is the yoga scene. I will just say that if you guys haven't seen the movie, a body is not supposed to bend that way. And so I think that if you're a slasher fan, if you're a horror fan in general, I think when you see that, it's one of those kills that it's definitely going to be in like the top 10 for the last decade, I think, as far as like horror movies go, because I was not expecting that. And overall, the look of Johnny I thought was pretty cool. With his firefighter-inspired mask that he's wearing, he carries around these hooks for a portion of the film, one of those being the yoga scene. And just the way that Barrett, the way that he portrayed this character, the way that he moved and acted, I thought he did a really good job. There's definitely some inspirations from Jason Voorhees, but at the same time, I think that he was able to make the character, his own as well. One of the complaints that I have seen online is I've seen other people saying how the characters here, they're not exactly, the most complex of characters, but you got to remember that this film was made and shot as a tribute to those, slashers of the 70s and the 80s, where you didn't necessarily have these characters that were super complex. So I understand with people, coming with that complaint, but for me, it wasn't something that bothered me too much because I used to watch so many of these films where, back in the day, and they made a lot of stupid decisions and different things that they said, so that wasn't something that really bothered me as much as it seems like it has for some other people. Now, In a Violent Nature, it isn't going to be for everyone. I can tell you guys that right up front. I can almost guarantee that when this film comes out, it's going to be one of those that probably divides, audiences. There's no score here, which often enhances a lot of horror films. Instead, you just have the sounds of nature, the characters talking, etc. So that might throw some people off. And then the pacing, it's very deliberate, and that will challenge some people as well because there's a lot of Johnny walking and walking and walking, which I can understand being frustrating for, if you're watching this film and maybe you didn't know that going into it. Overall, though, I do recommend if you guys are horror fans, if you are a slasher fan, and specifically that you do check this out. Just know what you're gonna get going into it. That way, you don't have these like crazy expectations. But yeah, I mean, as far as the score goes, I'm going to give this thing a 7.8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It has some gnarly kills in here, and it was just really fun to have a slasher film like this. It's cool. The past couple of years, we've kind of seen a resurgence in the slasher genre, but, you know, like I mentioned earlier in the video, this is probably going to be one of the closest things that we get to a Friday the 13th film, unless they somehow get all this, you know, bullshit, legal bullshit figured out with Jason Voorhees over the next several years, which I'm not super confident in. So it was just kind of nice to have one of these films as like a throwback to those films from the 70s and the 80s. So yeah, I definitely recommend you guys checking it out. And if you do, or if you already have seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. And yeah, where would you rank the yoga kill specifically? Because I think, like I said, that's going to be the one that everybody's talking about. So where would you rank that in your all-time kills? So let me know down below in the comments. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it. That way you get notifications for all my new videos. Give this video a thumbs up. And as always, guys, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.